Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at hempvillecbd.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
Welcome to the Filmistines, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we're breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you for tuning in today. I am joined today by my evil friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
You are evil, aren't you?
I'm evil. I mean, there's nothing more to say. Evil is evil.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes. Some recent movies we've covered include The Nun, The Nun 2, Saw X, Five Nights at Freddy's, and The Exorcist. And I'm proud to announce today is the last horror film for at least a couple episodes.
What? We're not a horror film podcast?
No, that was just for October. This is the dreg. This is the final hurrah.
Spooky season is over.
But today we are covering the very cool film by Demián Rugna, When Evil Lurks. That's a good, nice little surprise ending to our horror saga.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
I'm very curious what you're going to have to say about this movie because it's definitely unlike anything I've ever seen before. But I'm going to go ahead and say on the record, this is in my top 5 this year, for sure.
Whoa.
It might be my second favorite of the year, too.
Whoa. Behind Beau's Afraid?
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember what else there is. I have to go back and look. Just speaking of what came out this year, not what we covered, but because we covered Hereditary, and I like Hereditary much better than this. Hereditary is one of my favorite films of all time. But the When Evil Lurks is probably in my top 10 favorite horror films of all time, maybe top 5. I have to think about that. So, just to start off from the top, I do think this movie is awesome. Every moment, there is one particular kind of slower moment that I guess we will talk about, but I'm curious what you kind of feel about it. It's small pickings, really. But man, I don't really know how to talk about this film either. I know you mentioned that a moment ago. What is your gut telling you, though? How do you feel about this movie?
I mean, this movie is wow. It's just shocking. It's shocking in the beginning all the way till the end. And you don't see a lot of shocking movies. You just see suspense movies and maybe, your campy movies, but you never see a film that just fucking shocks you. I couldn't comfortably eat some of my food watching this just from how disgusting, and it wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. It was just like, what am I watching? Wow. I'm flabbergasted right now. Like, my mouth was open through probably half that movie. Just like, I guess, I can't really open my mouth here and people see you, but I was just open. Like, what? What just happened? What did I just watch? Did everyone else see this? It was crazy. It was crazy. The movie looked good. The practical effects looked good. I did have a little bit of an issue with the pacing. I'm not sure where, and I really don't know what my problem with it was, but I know it didn't hit me like it should have. But oh my god, it didn't even matter because that ending was just crazy balls. It was crazy. It was so good. It was I don't know where I would put this movie as far as my favorites of the year, but it's definitely up there, and it's definitely up there on my top favorite horror movies. Not just purely because we haven't really seen anything like this before, or at least I haven't, but I don't know, just because of what they do with it and what they have the audacity to do and to show us. It's awesome.
I will say, starting it, I was a little iffy about it because of the Shudder splash screen.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, another Shudder movie. These are, very kind of sci-fi channel for horror fans. And that's really great for people who like that style of horror, but I don't. I like things that kind of tap into the melodramatic. So I was pleasantly surprised by the end of it, or really, I guess 5-10 minutes in, that this is on its own level, but a different level than the typical Shudder film. I'm sure there are other Shudder films that are great, but I have not come across them or been recommended them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Please write in if you have any, man, because I all about the crazy horror. But I guess I'd like to start off saying one of my favorite things about this film is this laissez-faire kind of attitude in letting us in on some of the texture, history, and exposition of the world that's presented. They give it to us in a really kind of nonchalant way, history in this world. And it's not much, but the absence of faith in church and God within people, and how that's kind of just normal, and how things like just the rotten or evil entities existing are somewhat known, but almost sort of, but not really legend, because I guess they're pretty rare. And I think it's just so cool to kind of make that your backdrop. I guess I'm, especially thinking of the grandma, where she's telling the kid about the 7 rules and how there's this almost fable-like thing about the rotten and the evil. I just think, I don't know, I love that so much. It gives that right amount of texture. It gives that right flavor of texture to let your imagination kind of run wild. It's pretty rare in movies to get some kind of lore. Just in general, you usually just get, a little character history, maybe, and then you get the drama that's happening.
Yeah, someone flipping through the book and tell us a quick story / synopsis of the demon, or the nighttime story version of it.
Yeah, and it's always pretty inconsequential. It's either just tells you why the character did this thing that they're about to do or doing, or it's just to place the thing that you're talking about in some kind of reality, but it doesn't give you like working texture. Movies often, especially horror, don't often give you working texture of what's happening in the world and why it is the way it is at this very moment, and why it's continuing to be. So I don't know, it's just like, that's awesome. It's such a small little thing too, and I think it's executed perfectly. And I guess I want to also say this movie reminds me of like when like Evil Dead Rise meets an End of the World movie, and that you just have this, because then you can kind of see this movie actually happening in an Evil Dead movie minus the comedy, but it just gets out of control, or can get out of control, because it doesn't feel like the evil can get out of control in the Evil Dead universe.
Well, it did the last Evil Dead movie, the most recent one, I guess.
Yeah.
That one felt like...
it felt like it was kind of getting away, but it didn't feel like that this is like a viral epidemic kind of situation to me.
Okay. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because it's very contained in the apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
And then here, it's not only following this particular guy, but they're worried about it actually spreading, and they burn their clothes, and they they, kill the animals and
Yeah, you can't take anything with you wherever else you're going. Like, nothing.
Yeah, and it's so cool that there's like, it's just common knowledge when it comes to handling this situation. Although they don't know how to totally handle it, but they know how to sort of handle it. They know how to mitigate the spread by burning clothes and stuff and everything. And it's so, I don't know, I fucking love that so much. And that's kind of how they more or less start the movie for the first, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Is building the scenario out.
Yeah, it's like they're having fun with their world that they built. Like that scene where the grandma's, she's saying the 7 rules that you must follow with these things. And yeah, and then later on when, they meet Mirta, she's like, oh, and you can't be afraid to die. And that was funny because when we were watching it, you said, is that the 8th rule? They don't know what could happen and what can't happen. They're not set in stone rules that you must follow. I mean, and it's even funny when she says, you can't call it by its name. Like Lucifer, and then she starts naming a bunch of, I don't know, demon bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is hilarious because it's like, shut up, Grandma. Why are you saying them out loud right here? Did you not hear yourself? And even the little kids like, Grandma, you can't say them. And I'm right there with you. It's so loose and fun because any other movie would have taken itself too seriously.
Yeah, but at the same time, it takes itself in a really natural way, in a natural, serious way, in that the grandma's never seen anything like it. So why in the world would she take it serious?
Why would she know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the fast and loose, kind of rules are not rules, they're rules of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, like, okay, this is generally how you want to approach a situation based off of the legend that's passed down to varying degrees. And I mean, it grounds you in such a natural way that it's just, I've never actually seen anything like it in a horror movie. I think it's unbelievably on point in that way.
It's very well done, for sure. Like, here's the 7 suggestions because you haven't seen it, or you have and you don't know. Because there's also the thing with the gun. You can't use a gun to shoot it. Okay, but then you can only kill them with that specific thing that only these non-church exorcists.
And we don't even know that, though.
Yeah, but we don't know that. We haven't seen it. The first one that was going to kill Uriel got chomped in half. I don't remember what happened to his body, but I know half his body was there. And then Mirta dies before she can kill him. So even then we don't know.
Yeah, and it's even kind of funny in a strange way because Pedro like smashes the big guy's head in with a piece of the device.
Yeah.
In a last ditch effort, and you're just like, is it just like any other horror movie that we've seen where if you have a creature monster and you have, it's a vampire, you can stab it with a wooden stake? Is it that kind of thing where it's just gonna work and you're just like,
Yeah. You hit it with a device that it's supposed to kill. That's supposed to kill it. So you should be good, right? Is it gonna work? Right?
And it's just like, I don't know. It's like puts you. I mean, I guess it does a really good job putting you on the edge with that. I guess ultimately it does kind of build a really great sense of hopelessness.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty rare in horror movies. Surprisingly, I think the movies that do it the best are probably not horror. They're kind of psychological horror, probably. I can't think of one horror movie that fucking End of the World movies do a better job at building hopelessness than most horror movies.
Well, the Evil Dead movie, everyone dies at the end.
Yeah, but I guess
you see the whatever it was floating away out of the building.
Yeah, it's true, but I just still don't get a sense of it's that big of a problem because they didn't, I guess.
I mean, they brought it from the camp place, the cabin. They brought it from the cabin. I don't remember who brought it, what girl brought it, but someone brought that spirit into that building.
No, the spirit left the building and went to the cabin.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, because of the girl. Yeah.
They flipped it.
Yeah, that's right. So it's still traveled.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I guess in Evil Dead Rise, or in the Evil Dead universe, the books were all together at one point too. So and they're separated, so they're being kind of carried apart. But I guess.
But that's the closest you can that's the closest you can come to this movie.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of saying that that's why it feels like an Evil Dead meets that one for that next step, which would be the end of the world kind of movie.
Yes.
Because this feels like, I mean, it felt like an end of the world movie, and I think it is a really crazy compliment actually, because we don't get a lot of characters or texture or people running around or anything. Where we see, I don't know, maybe 10 people in the whole movie, 11, 12 people, maybe. Or I guess if you include the kids at the end, maybe 17 people in the entire movie. There's like hardly anyone. But end of the world movies, you got thousands of people running around, dying, blowing up and stuff, getting crushed by meteors or whatever, drowning. So I think it does a really good job painting that how big of a problem this is. And I also love the urgency of the landlord, boss, farmer guy, Ruiz.
Oh, Ruiz. It's like Louise, but with an R. So
Ruiz?
Ruiz, yeah.
His chaoticness was just awesome.
That was awesome.
Awesome. He might be the star of the movie. I mean, I think there's a few people here who are just stellar, but he was just so good. Oh my god, dude, he is so. If anything, man, he's worth watching this movie for. Pedro's awesome too, and then Jimmy's a side character, his being his brother and his main sidekick was good too, but he was less of the focus, obviously, because we focus on the kids so much.
Yeah, but with Ruiz, you knew what kind of movie you were getting into after his whole like character arc.
Yeah, but his introduction was so awesome too, because they, when they go to see that body and they're like, "Is it Ruiz?"
Yeah, they hype this guy up.
They bring him up before we see him probably 15 times.
Yes.
You're just like, who the fuck is this guy? Because they're, they're really concerned with him and stuff. Obviously, because he's the boss and he owns the land. He's kind of, he's their dude. Landlord and boss. It's how I took it.
Yeah, I think so.
And maybe friend.
Yeah, when you live in those kinds of country houses with a bunch of land and stuff, you all pretty much know each other.
Yeah.
And you know who your neighbor is, even though they're, I don't know how many acres away. But before we get too off topic, I want to bring back the thing you mentioned about this kind of being a mix of Evil Dead and End of the World movie. And I
want to throw an ounce of A Quiet Place in there too.
That's an End of the World movie.
Okay.
But yeah. But these rottens feel like they're, zombies or vampires or whatever is killing off the world. And even the name rotten is, it reminds me of The Walking Dead's The Walkers.
Yeah.
The biters. So I think that's fitting because they're not super demonic. We've covered quite a few demonic movies here. And demons are nasty. This guy's nasty on a whole different level, but not, cussing out your mom nasty. This spirit.
See, that's one reason it reminds me so much of the Evil Dead is because it's less of a spirit and more of like a literal kind of manifestation of evil and like a mold.
Well, yeah, it's being born, right? The whole time we're dealing with it, it's not even
an entity.
Yeah, an entity yet. We're going through the birthing process right now. Excuse me?
Just that in its own encased idea is probably my favorite thing out of every horror movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't cower away from it too. And the fact that it's such an urgent and they're so concerned, deal. It's so it's unbelievable. Unlike I can't believe it. It's so fucking cool.
Let's talk about how the possessed, especially Uriel, how they looked.
So I got the impression that they become like a blob with enough time, right?
Yeah. It reminded me of the walkers that fall into wells or bodies of water and they get all swollen up and they look nasty as fuck. But this dude looks so fucking nasty. When I think I was taking a bite of pizza when he popped up on the scene, and I don't know what the hell was dripping out of his nose, and the I guess the wife, whatever she was, sister, I don't know, went and wiped
Oh, that was
his mouth.
That was the mom. That was his mom.
That was his mom. Oh yeah, that's right. That was his son. Yeah, that was her.
The older son.
That was her older son. You're right. She went and wiped his nose or his mouth, whatever it was, and I don't think I could swallow my slice of pizza. It was so disgusting. And I'm not like that. I don't get disgusted. You know, body shit it doesn't bother me. I could watch someone throw up. I could watch someone, you know, leak spinal fluid out of their nose. I can watch someone bleed nonstop. I mean, that doesn't bother me. But this movie made it bother me just a little bit, man. And that's props, man. That's props when you can make the body horror bother me. And even the actors that didn't want to touch him, you know, and that was
like when they were dragging him out,
yes.
And they were kind of just backing off with their hands, and
he ripped through the blanket. The blanket was soaking up his nastiness, and it was
dripping through.
They're like, get another blanket, and you're like, no, I don't ruin this poor family's blankets. Oh my god, it was nasty. And
they were trying to get rid of him too. The family, they were trying to get rid of him in the proper way and everything. And then the city didn't care. They managed to finally get someone to, you know, come look at him or put an end to him. And then the evil, you know, got a hold of the little brother and took out you find that out at the very end. He took out the priests, the only priests they have left. I love that they're basically, you know, like vigilante kind of unorganized community of people who, you know, try to do God's work where they can, but they're really, you know, they've seen better days.
Yeah.
Like I could see a prequel come out of this, actually.
That'd be awesome.
Where we see kind of like A Quiet Place, where we see things change, you know, where evil kind of gets the upper hand. And it almost feels allegorical. I
think that's what I couldn't quite put my finger on. Look, man, I was trying to think about this movie way too much.
No, not way too much. This is a movie that requires some time, and you need to marinate on this.
I was just stressing myself out, not getting it, not knowing.
Well, I think it's hard to not see a little bit of like look what's happening to us now. This is what modernity looks like. Look at how toxic we've become and how we, you know, have to worry about, I don't know, spreads of, I don't know, fucking anything as far as like maybe information or even a COVID kind of situation. And it's hard to not see that because the world is so, it's, you know, it's like I was just saying, that it's so well defined in some way that it feels like there is something totally being said about, look at the world has come to, kind of thing. And COVID's easy to see in it because it's a viral situation and we're all worried about being too close and touching and, you know, and even talking about it. Don't speak its name kind of thing.
It's like, don't cough in public.
Don't cough in public. Yeah, I mean, we all have this now. I mean, not all, of course, but a lot of people have this now. Social anxiety of appearing sick, you know?
Yes.
Which we should on some level, because if you're coughing, you should wear a mask. That's how it should have always been. And now hopefully we're learning our lesson a little bit more globally. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at it. Of course, in the age we're in, with the age of disinformation, it's easy to see, but that's exactly the same allegory. That's a spread of, you know, toxic whatever, you know, lies, propaganda.
I like that you're saying that, because we also see Pedro and he's divorced. And how more modern can we get with divorced parents fighting over the kids? She got a restriction order on his ass. He didn't come see the kids. But now that the world's ending, now all of a sudden he cares. Because he said, oh, I got to go get my kids. And me and you were like, he's got kids? What? Excuse me? And then you find out that the mom's with a new husband. There's a the step kid involved that Pedro doesn't give a fuck about. Because that's not his kid, you know? And then we have that little glimpse of when Jimmy is going after the little boy and he runs over the already possessed, I don't remember her name, the wife. And she says something along the lines of like I don't know what she said, but you know, that they were together or they wanted to be together. So kind of some infidelity involved there. And there's like just tiny bits and pieces of that going on throughout the whole movie. And I don't know how it still matters, even though the world's ending. They're not even paying attention when they're arguing and that little girl gets got by the dog. They're not even noticing. They're just yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that's where my mouth was open for like 20 minutes straight. That they had the fucking balls to do that to a little kid. You know, movies don't hurt kids.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of movies. There's
or
probably
animals.
Or animals. There's very few movies that hurt the kids. And even less that violently hurt the kids.
Yeah, we need more violence towards children.
And this movie...
It goes pretty hard.
Goes hard on
Yeah, I saw
children.
someone online saying that it should have gone harder. And I was just like, man, I don't know if that would have been possible.
I did watch a director interview where he talks a little bit about that.
Where's he from? I didn't look into him. Is he from Argentina?
He's from Argentina, and the interviewer asked him why the kids? Why terrorize the kids? Why do this to the kids? And she was like, do you not like kids? And he's like, well, I don't have kids. So that's probably why. I don't want kids. I don't have them. They're not in my future. But, you know, he was kind of joking. But I think he just liked incorporating children and their lack of innocence.
Yeah, and I guess to play off of the allegorical nature of this film, I'm not sure if there is one, but it definitely feels like there is. Kids are the most susceptible to disinformation and any kind of abuse. And we see that played out here, like we do in a lot of horror movies, possession movies, right? But it's used here in such a, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say fun or loving, but it feels very fun and loving way.
Nope, nothing fun and, well, a lot of fun. No love. No loving. Lots of love.
Because I guess they take the evil likes children trope and puts it, you know, to the fire, man. They really kind of dissect what that means. And I guess, what's her name? Who says it?
Mirta.
She says that kids love evil and evil loves kids.
Yeah, evil likes kids and kids love evil or like evil, yeah.
Which is true, totally.
Oh, completely.
But they really deliver on that, no pun intended. Where the fat guy, he gives birth to...
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
To, you know, a little body of evil, a little demon.
Child-looking thing.
Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's the literal embodiment of what was developing inside of him. And so it's just like, I don't know. And I guess it only takes that allegory a little further, and that you can have this thing born of it that really does take a life of its own. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to get away from the allegory. I think simply because it's put on such a global level. I think it reminds me of Us in that way too. Us is very much allegorical, and how our digital life is more important than our real life. Or I guess that makes you ask the question, is your digital life your real life? That makes you ask that question. That's Jordan Peele's Us. I don't know, it's genius. This movie is totally genius. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. And another point he brought up in his interview was how many laws or how many, I guess they're laws, I don't know, protecting children in the filming industry there are in Argentina.
Oh.
And one of the ones he mentioned was that there can't be anything resembling blood on or around children.
Wow, to a censorship level.
Yes.
Okay.
So he talked about how difficult that was and how his producers were basically like, nah, man, we got to change some stuff around. And he's like, no, I am up for the challenge. So maybe that kind of inspired a lot of ways to get creative with the kids. But he talked about one of the ways to get creative with the blood was to cover them in blue paint. And then in post-production, they made it red. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, he said there were so many things that he had to work around and just how long it took. Because it took a while, I guess. And then, COVID time. So he was just talking about how long it took for things to happen because of the kids. They couldn't stay out past a certain amount of time. They could only hold them in one place for a certain amount of time. I mean, it was crazy.
He seems pretty open about the craft. He's not very mysterious.
Nope. I wish I would have watched more interviews, but I just watched that one.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about Ruiz.
Oh yeah, back to Ruiz.
Again, I like the funny choice. I mean, it's borderline manipulative, I guess, because they just are like, Ruiz. They keep on bringing him up. And so you're just like, who the fuck is this? And then, I mean, I guess it helps flesh out these characters of how little like interaction they might have with the outside world, outside of the farm and stuff. They may really just have Ruiz and that mom and her kids at one point, and of course each other, because they're busy. They live out on a farm. They are just away from life, right? Or civilization. And so Ruiz probably does just get brought up a lot, right? Yeah, I mean, I can see that. And when we're introduced to him, he's just this, I don't know, you don't really, you get a sense of like, I don't know if I can trust this guy. Is this guy gonna be a problem for our main two characters? What's his deal, And then I guess he really does a nice job setting the table of just how big of a deal this is. Because he flips out basically, and he kills his goat because
it taunted him.
It taunted him, yeah.
That was a cool part where the goat, like, he's pointing his gun at the goat, and the goat just scoots up and puts its little goat head to the barrel, almost saying like, what are you gonna do about it, bro? And that probably pissed him off.
Yeah. Because he obviously doesn't want to shoot the evil, but he also has no idea how else to handle the situation. Because we see that when he's facing, what's the big guy's name?
Uriel.
Yeah. Because he goes in there and you're just like, oh my God, is this dude going to shoot him? And then Uriel's like, kill me. It's just like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
At this point, what is that, 15, 20 minutes in? They've done such an awesome job that this movie is operating on its own level that it really kind of takes everything you might expect and, I don't know, just places you where they want you.
This might just be me. I didn't expect anything that happened here. I didn't expect Uriel to look nasty as fuck. I didn't expect Ruiz to, shoot the goat. And we didn't know the rules then, and I guess Pedro just said, don't shoot him. And then the wife was like, don't shoot him with the firearm. You're like, what? Why? And then he shoots him. Then the wife fucking starts murdering him. And then she murders herself. And you're like, what?
That's what I'm saying. By the time Pedro and Jimmy go see Uriel and the Rotten, you're in a different kind of movie. You're in a movie unlike anything you've seen before. And so the expectation is just totally not a viable, dependency. Like when you see The Exorcist, the new Exorcist, it's largely I guess, predictable, you could say. And that you may, I mean, I don't know, maybe you can even kind of predict what characters are going to say in that situation. But you know exactly where it's going to land.
Yeah, you know that they're going to get slowly transition into a possession, look nastier from the beginning to the end. You're going to expect a priest. You're going to expect an exorcism.
Yeah, and the middle part's going to be where they try to get help. They're going to try to find, or at least where the help is going to come from.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the exorcism is successful. Quote, unquote, successful.
But when evil lurks, you're presented with this impregnated dude with evil, and you're just like, what? Like, you don't really know what that means. They don't say it explicitly, but I guess they do say that it's kind of festering in him, that it has there's like some physical kind of manifestation that's going to come of this. That if you're possessed, if you're rotten too long, the evil becomes worse and worse and more potent and, more consequential. But you don't know what that could possibly mean.
Yeah.
You especially don't know that means give birth to an entity of evil. Yeah.
And just the fact that he went the no church way, no religion way with a possession, you knocked out one of the biggest tropes in that category.
I like the lack of religion in a film that's very much got kind of religious undertones, I guess, and that there is a presence of evil and demons.
Not to mention, this is, Argentina, so they're Hispanic, and the Hispanics are, they're pretty much Catholic, a lot of them, and Argentinians are Catholic. So that right there is almost like you have to give them a Catholic background. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you already broke that, and then no religion, and then saying churches are dead. But you have you have a possession, you have some evil entity going on here. You can't, how are you going to get rid of him? And we don't. So I like that.
Yeah, it seems like when it's far enough along, you can't. So it begs the question in just a curiosity way, not in I hope they make a sequel way, but it begs the question of like, what happens now? I don't want a sequel. I think that'd be a terrible, terrible decision. But it leaves that door open, which I think is a really cool place to be in. I think it'd be more interesting to have a prequel to see the demise of the church and faith.
Yeah, because Mirta tells us that story about how one of the Rottens came in and was eating their loved ones right in front of everybody at the church. And that's kind of what made her turn and be this, whatever, I don't know what we're calling them. Exorcists? Non-religious exorcists?
Yeah, I don't really know. They're kind of
wannabe superheroes. But then she says, I have never seen anything like this before. So what's going on?
It got out of hand.
Yeah. How did it get out of hand? Yes.
And how did it get out of hand? We know with the city neglecting the situation, and I don't know, there's something, it still comes back to that allegory of people not taking accountability and not humbling and stopping the situation before it, gets out of hand. So I think I'd be curious to know if anyone's asked Demián here about the greater message, especially in the landscape of modern horror, where we're getting a lot of enlightened horror, I think they're calling it, where there is kind of a overtone of messaging and agenda, which is cool. I'm a fan of allegorical pieces of art, right? Are you in general?
No.
You could take them or leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have a quote here where he says, I guess I was playing with the madness, with the craziness, with the idea that everyone has a demon on one side and an angel on the other side. And what happens when the angel disappears? What happens when all you have is the demon to tell you what you need and what you must do? I took that concept, then I tried to make an Exorcist movie without religion. That's the puzzle. I've been trying to find a way to tell a story in which the main character has his own metaphorical demons he's trying to run away from. Maybe it's his past, his decisions, the choices he made, or the demon is already chasing him. I'm not answering your question. Where does evil come from? I think it happens to come from somewhere that is already here. But what happens? What happens when the angel that provides balance disappears? That's the idea.
Yeah, it's hard not to see a little modernity in that.
Yes. Dang, you good.
You like my allegorical stance?
Yeah, I like that.
Have you read anything about other people reading into it like that? Reading into this movie in a deeper overtone kind of way?
No, just a lot of reviews about how people really love it and how different it is and we need more things like this and horror, blah, blah, blah. And I guess there was one guy that just referenced the 7 rules as maybe him playing with like the 7 deadly sins, but
that's hard to not see when when 7 gets brought up. For sure. They made a movie about it, for God's sake. 7.
Oh.
David Fincher's.
Oh, yeah.
Which inspired Saul. I don't think there's anything to it, but there might be. I don't know. You'd have to piece that one together. That one doesn't light anything off immediately. I'm not there with that one. But again, he's not to say every time you use 7, it's bringing up the 7 deadly sins. But there's a lot of moving parts here that are not just coincidental. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it may just be 7 because there are 7 deadly sins. That may be why there are 7 rules. That may just be the connection, just the number itself, which you could argue is 1 degree manipulative, but it also, I don't know what makes a film manipulative. I struggle with this in my mind a lot because intention is everything, right?
Yeah, I guess what makes a film manipulative is trying to make you go do something.
Or feel a certain way.
But even those I don't think are quite as manipulative. I think those are just trying to share a viewpoint.
Yeah.
I think manipulative films are more like the the vegan documentaries I watch. They're trying to make you not eat meat.
Sure, but then what's the difference between manipulative and propagandistic films? I feel like there's a spectrum there, right?
Yes.
Because I think dealing with children in horrific ways, whatever, every way you can think of that's horrific with children, I think applies to this. I think that is inherently borderline manipulative because normal ass people, sane people, are going to feel for children. They don't want children being raped. They don't want children being attacked, killed, mutilated in any way, right? And so I guess it's not the presence of a children going through something like that isn't manipulative in itself, but the question is now beginning to be asked, but is it a homage kind of rip situation where if it's done tastefully and justified, is it not manipulative just like it's an homage when it's tastefully done? But if it's not tastefully done, it is manipulative or like a ripoff kind of thing. Is it that situation you think where it's?
I don't know, because not everyone that's not doing it tastefully is feeling that way.
Yeah.
Some people cannot do it tastefully. They just don't have that in them.
Yeah, and I guess, and it's different. People are going to see it tastefully differently.
Right.
I guess I got to bring it up. But we just watched Sound of Freedom. I think Sound of Freedom is an extremely manipulative film because of its use of children and the situation, but it doesn't earn the situation. It doesn't set up the situation in a proper way or deliver.
Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree with that.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right. Bet. It's kind of like the difference between like Okja
mm-hmm.
and like the, what's it called? Cowspiracy. documentary. I don't know how many vegan documentaries you've seen. I've seen way too many that I care to watch.
Cowspiracy?
I think that's what it's called. Let me double check myself.
That's funny.
Yeah, you know, they talk about the animal agriculture, or one of the other vegan documentaries, What the Health. I don't know if you've seen that one.
What the Health?
Yeah, What the Health.
Okay, that's a cute name.
That one's on Netflix, I think. I don't know if it's still on there, but I've seen that one way too many times. And it doesn't start out as a vegan documentary. It starts out as a health documentary.
That feels propagandistic.
That seems... Well, fuck, I was going to say that seems more manipulative. And Oak just seems more propaganda. I wonder if we're thinking the same thing, but just mixing up the words.
Yeah, propaganda feels more extreme to me.
Yeah.
Than manipulative. Not all manipulation is bad. This sounds like an episode onto itself. This will be a topical episode. Write that down. All right, where'd we leave off? I guess at the end of the day, I feel like Demián here has just that special love for the craft that's just very rare. And he has understanding of the craft that's on, an Ari Aster kind of level.
I knew you were going to say
that. He's my guy, He's
your guy, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think he definitely has passion for what he's trying to say. And creativity, because I feel like a lot of other people would have said, nah, man, let's just take the kids down a notch, or let's just not put them in the gory scenes, or, whatever. Because we haven't even talked about the autistic kid.
Mm-hmm. Which is a pretty interesting character to include. And also, I mean, it also asks the question of manipulation. We got to dissect that a little bit more later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally love the inclusion of any kids in movies. I don't think kids are able to deliver very often. I think these kids are fine. They're fortunately not focal points in a character dialogue way. Thank God. Well, I guess God dead, but I do like the inclusion of this autistic kid, because I mean it's tiny setup, but I think their grandma, it may be the other lady. What's her name again? Mirta,
yeah.
She says something that something's kind of funny when babies don't cry when animals act weird and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's just small little setup for when the autistic kid is, he's not doing the things with his hands, and he speaks, and it's just kind of really, it's crazy. I saw it coming, but it was still crazy even after thinking it.
You saw that coming.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I guess after she said that, like right after she said that. I can't remember if it was after she said that or after we saw his hands. And I was like, oh, this dude is about to speak. He's going to say some shit. I didn't know it was going to be the way that they did it, because they made him just seem like a normal kid.
That was jarring.
Yeah.
That was disturbing.
It was crazy. And the grandma was just like, I love that it happened to the grandma too, again, after, the little boy got taken by his possessed mom. I love that she was kind of the character where that shit just happened. You're just like, oh shit, and she's just sitting there, and then we find out later that she gets eaten.
She got eaten. Yep. And bringing the grandma up, I fucking loved that she ran away when Sabrina, the mom, came to get the son, the small little boy, when they were in bed, and the grandma just ran. She ran downstairs and told Pedro and Jimmy. She told Pedro and Jimmy, and was like, hey, someone's up there with your kid. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. I'm so sorry, but I got scared.
See, that's what I'm talking about. This movie brings a crazy level of naturalism to the world
Yeah.
and these characters.
I don't know what percentage, but I know it's way more than half percentage of people. You motherfuckers are running away.
In moments like this,
Yes.
abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes. I'm probably not running away, but not because I'm heroic or anything, but that's probably because I'm freezing. I'm a freezer. I freeze.
We store our frozen goods in you.
Exactly. Put me in a bad situation, I'm a goner.
It's
I've
true.
been in a situation where I fucking froze where I shouldn't have froze, and I almost got trampled, but someone pulled me out the way. I could have died.
Yep.
And that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh shit, I'm a freezer. I'm gonna have to work on that. If you can you change your natural fight or flight response? Who knows, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, those were awesome moments, and they deliver on the grandma in the best way possible. To just feed the hopelessness of this world. You know, after Uriel gives birth to the physical manifestation of evil itself. You know, our dad goes home with his last child and finds out that kid ate his mom. It's awesome. It's so awesome. I'm sure there's other movies like that, and I'm sure some of them are great, but man, and not to say that this is great because it's the first time I've ever seen anything like this, but I can't even.
Yeah. That's a lot of reviews I'm seeing. I love this because I've never seen anything like it. No, I know what you're saying, but
and that's a decent reason enough off of like to form a recommendation on, but this movie is so good. It needs more of your time, I guess, in your mind. It needs more of your time.
And I think there's something there that I haven't quite put my finger on, that him and the brother are the last people. At the end, after Jimmy discovers that little boy from the beginning, and it's funny that it didn't hit me that he was a child, and even though he said it, like, something in my mind made me go do that, and I'm like, I wonder what made him go do that. Like, I guess I was just so dumb. It wasn't until I was like thinking about the movie and taking down my notes that I was like, oh, he was possessed, or Uriel made him do that. I'm so dumb. But after that interaction, he comes back, and Pedro just collapses on the ground, starts screaming, and then Jimmy just like calmly puts his head on the truck, and it's just them two. It's just the two brothers.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something there too, but
no, I mean, I think it just leaves that door open for your imagination to like, what next? Are they the last guys? Is that what you're saying? You think they might be the last?
No, I guess I'm thinking, is it like a family moment, or we started with them, so we're ending with them. You'll always have your brother's back, like something like that.
Sure. I do like a lot. It kind of reminded me of Pearl, I guess, the very end of Pearl, where we have this just drug out scene of an action. He's in Pearl, she's smiling at the camera, and she starts crying and stuff, and it's like fucking 5 minutes of just her looking, and it's really inherently kind of powerful. And I guess word of the day, it's a good form of manipulation, I feel like, because it kind of doesn't. It reminds me of, I guess, also Saul, where you're forced to confront, like in Saul X, I should say, where we're forced to confront the thing they have to do to their body time and time again in the new Saul, versus like the old ones where the camera jerks around so much that you never get that on the level of Saw X and things like Pearl, where I'm talking about the very end of Pearl where she's looking at the camera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then in this, when evil lurks, Pedro, he falls to his knees and he screams, and he becomes silent. The master volume kind of turns off, and he's just dying, on the, not literally, but emotionally just fucking destroyed on the ground. And then it ends. I wish every movie ended along these lines, where you you were handed, the final news, and it just kind of ends. It's just we start as loose as we end, or we end as loose as we started, I should say. Because a lot of movies, you start loose or not, but you end nice and tight. You got the bow on top, and there's just all your questions are basically answered. All the questions that matter. And I think I've told you before, I like movies just in general where it's kind of ironic, I guess, for me to say this, but I like movies where you just take a snapshot out of a life, and it ends up making a movie kind of like this, or like the Florida Project or something like that. It kind of reminds me of that in that way. But also, I like Beau's Afraid too, where it's got a very ABC kind of through line, and it's because it's trying to say something, right? Mm-hmm. Saying that about Beau's Afraid, he's literally born in the first few seconds and dies, so we get the complete story, in that movie. But I don't know, the ending is just so, it's I don't know, it's a weird form of powerful. You know what I mean? Because I guess it's our first moment of real relief in that movie, where the sound kind of cuts out and we're allowed to, all right, take a, get off the edge of your chair. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
This is definitely the type of movie where the ending fits the movie. I'm not like you. I don't wish every movie ended like this. I want my romance movies to be tied. I'm not like you that likes where they're not together, like La La Land and 500 Days of Summer. No, I don't like that. I get sad and depressed. No, I want the sap. I want the movie like The Notebook, where at the very end they're old and they're holding hands in bed, and then they die together holding hands in bed. That's what I want.
My favorite movie where the guy gets the girl is where he loses his dad at the same time.
Oh my god. You fucking would.
That's my favorite time, when the guy gets the girl.
No, so, every movie has its ending. But it almost seems like there's a lot of movies that don't know how to end, too.
Hell yes. Oh my god, yes. I can't. That'd be a good topic for an episode, too. Genius. We're working on all cylinders today.
It's like when you have to write an essay and you don't know what to put in your conclusion.
Nice, yeah.
So you're like...
Yeah, well said.
Here you go.
I like that. I guess that's why you have people like Stephen King, who he writes the ending first. Mm-hmm. And then how do you get from A, B, C, D to Z?
Yeah.
There's something really profound about that.
I know.
Genius. It's because it brings up the question of why we're so obsessed with the origin. Why is it so important that we have a starting point when we often don't have the end?
Yeah.
Why are we so obsessed with the beginning of humanity? Why are we so obsessed with, dates? Like, when did things become invented? Why is there got to be an origin of the universe? What was your favorite part about this movie? Did you have a favorite sequence or anything?
No, I don't think I had a favorite sequence, but my favorite part about the movie is definitely the shock factor.
Okay.
Wow. The only other movie that's probably shocked me like this, I'm sure there's a few, but the only one that's coming to mind is Hereditary. When that little girl's head gets popped off. My mouth was definitely open for a while for that. So that's good. We don't have a lot of shocking movies. They're ready for the suspense. They're ready for the jump scares. They're ready for the gore. But no one's ready for the shock.
Just a quick question. Is House of a Thousand Corpses a shocking film? Was that when I made you watch that? You don't remember?
I don't remember. I don't think so. Maybe I'd have to rewatch it, but what's coming to mind, no.
Okay.
And it's not even a twist and turny kind of shock like the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's I can't believe I'm seeing this on the screen right now.
Because one thing I read about in The Exorcist, the new one that came out, is that they didn't take things far enough. And it feels like just a generic criticism that you could say about, just about every Blumhouse film at the very least, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess we kind of brought that up with the violence and, I mean, a character especially. I don't think any Blumhouse has ever taken a character off of, the first page.
Yep.
Does this film take it too far?
No, it knows what it is. This film knows what it wanted to deliver. Does
this set the bar for, again, we haven't seen everything out there, so there may be other films, right? But, I mean, this film's pretty popular now. Do you think it starts to at least to force the question on other filmmakers who want to get into something that's, kind of at least contextually graphic, whether we see the violence or not? But do you think this film will force filmmakers to take things to a new level?
I think this film will be very influential.
Okay.
For the shock value, the shock factor. I'm all for jump scares. I love jump scares, even though they scare the shit out of me. I love that. That's like a, guilty feeling, guilty pleasure feeling, whatever you call that shit.
Love-hate relationship.
Yeah, love-hate relationship for sure. But people are just talking about how this film didn't really have any jump scares. So they really appreciate the shock value that they got, the disturbing feeling they got. Even the director said that when he went to go see the movie at the screening, that's when he saw it at one of the festival screenings.
Yeah. At TIFF, I think, right?
Yeah, he saw, or I guess he felt the audience moving in their chairs from like the oh no or the oh shit that just happened, oh god she got dragged, oh my god. So he really liked that. He appreciated that. So I think this movie is getting a lot of love, and if directors are smart, they'll start adding more shocking things to their films. And will they take it too far? I don't know.
I hope so. I hope we hit the other side, because we've been so safe for ever. I mean, I don't know. I think it's maybe just the nature of filmmaking, I guess, but it seems it's pretty rare to, I mean, it's pretty rare in general just to find a filmmaker who feels like they love what they're doing through and through.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even rarer to find a filmmaker who feels like they're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Movies are playing it way too safe. I mean, this last Exorcist movie, super safe. You're so safe, you decided to be all-inclusive in religion. Wow.
Yeah, and they didn't even, I feel like there's a smart way to handle that too, and they didn't.
Yeah. Like, dude, this movie, when evil lurks, you got an autistic kid possessed. Oh, what? I bet you there's people out there mad about that.
Oh, I'm sure. I love the little bit of texture they give with that the demon, the evil within him can't occupy his brain in the right way because his brain doesn't work in the right way.
Yes.
I love it. That's so cool. And I guess it figured him out and took him over like a fucking cordyceps in The Last of Us with the fungus.
Yep. Yeah, you got a pregnant lady killing herself and her unborn kid. You have a child being dragged by a dog through the streets of Argentina. And you have autistic kids being possessed. You have mothers grabbing their children and jumping off balconies.
And then eating their brains.
Oh, I don't need to say anything else.
I don't know if it's going to have the same cultural impact as Hereditary, but I think it might have a cultural impact on Shudder and Shudder's future productions and, movies that they try to get the rights of and stuff and everything. Because I could see a reality where Shudder starts to become the horror competitor to A24 after this film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because A24 is more or less known for its horror or at least psychological thriller type films. And I could see Shudder trying to tap into that a little bit after this. Or I could see filmmakers coming to Shudder to, try to make their films be a reality, and that competition happen right under our noses. This might be the birth of a really interesting new, which I mean it already I guess is for some people, but again it feels very. Do you understand that when I say it feels like a Sci-Fi Channel thing for horror people?
Yeah.
You're familiar with Sci-Fi Channel movies?
Yes.
Okay. Because they're...
Do I watch them? No.
Don't watch them. They're not good. Because we had that briefly with... We still do, but, like Anaconda with Ice Cube and the Piranha movies and Lake Placid. These really, almost... They're like... Oh my god, I don't even know. They're like porn movies without any of the sex. It's just it's so not good kind of thing. I don't know, they're strange. Well, man, I think we've covered everything. Do you have a budget guess for me?
Yeah, this one was hard.
Yeah.
They're all hard. But this one was extra hard. But I went 5 million. But I don't know. I think that's too much. And then it was in Argentina, but then it's Shudder. So
I hear you.
No clue.
Totally hear you. Yeah, I couldn't find a budget online.
Okay.
But I would guess no more than 5 million. And no, I think some of the production did happen in the US. So I could see it maybe ballooning a little bit, but I don't know, man. 5 million feels right, actually. Feels right on the money.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, thank you for watching this film with me. And thank you for talking about it, more importantly.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Go watch it. Quit messing around. Go watch it. It's on Shudder now, right? It got added the last of the month.
Yeah, a few days ago.
Yeah. It's available. Go watch it. Go get shocked. Go let a fly... get in your mouth because your mouth's open. I don't know. Go watch it.
Will we see this at the Oscars?
For international film, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Do horror films typically go to the Oscars?
It's pretty rare.
Then maybe not. Because RRR didn't even go.
Well, for music or whatever, a specific song. I know, that was the weakest bone they could have given them. I'm like...
Yes.
At least soundtrack, right? At least a nomination for something. Oh my god, that's all I wanted out of them. The best film of the year it won, but it won in the lousiest way. But how do you bitch about winning at the Oscars? You know what I mean?
I guess.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmsteins. Remember, you can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, all the places that you listen to shit. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmsteins, signing off.